everyone, my name is Omega, Son-Of-Thanatos to all of you. And as we all know, exam seasons are coming up, people. So, inspired by exam seasons, I decided to make a video inspired by one of history's most well thought out, well fought battles in the Mediterranean, which is the Battle of Cannae. Viewer discretion warning: if any of my viewers are not comfortable with bloodshed, violence, and massacre, this video is not for you. But for those of you who are sure that you can stomach all of the things I just said, you may stay. So, the Battle of Cannae, let's just give you a small recap here. The Battle of Cannae was one of the most famous battles of the Second Punic War, and this war was fought between Rome and Carthage, two of the Mediterranean's main superpowers, just like we have Russia and USA in modern day. This battle shows one of the greatest victories and strategies of General Hannibal, son of General Hamilcar, hero of the First Punic War. This battle undeniably deserves to be up there with a few of Hannibal's greatest feats and victories, even those such as crossing the Alps. So, let's dive right into it. So, to make this video suitable for people of all ages who are watching this, we're going to make this a bit more like a video game. So, you know in a video game how you always have to know the stats and XP of each character before you choose said character? Well, here it is for Rome and Carthage. Carthage, on one hand, had a measly 54,000 troops, including their mercenaries, which mostly comprised of Celtics, Africans, Spanish people, etc., etc. While the Romans had 80,000 troops, led by two consuls, Paulus and Varro. But one major disadvantage the Romans had was that half of their 80,000 troops did not have any battle experience and were inexperienced on an actual battlefield with swords and shields. So, let's dive right into one of history's most iconic battles ever. So first, we'll get into the location and the date and time of this battle. I'm joking, we do not have the time of this battle, but we do have location and date. The date may vary based on your sources, but we're giving you what most sources say and what most sources say about the location. So the location took place near the village of Cannae in southwestern Italy and near southern Apulia in the modern region of Puglia. Puglia. I'm sorry, but who names a place Puglia? And the date is just 18 days away from my birthday, which is August 2nd, 216 BC, which, if we look at it that way, is heck of a long time ago. And also, have we noticed how things in history have a repeating pattern of all important things happening in August? But you know what? No, screw that. I'm being sidelined. Okay, so let's dive right into the battle formation and the actual battle itself. And if you all do not want to know the details of the battle and the massacre that follows, I would suggest you all to skip ahead in the video a bit until I am done explaining the battle. So if you have not skipped yet, then let's go ahead. This was the battle formation of the Battle of Cannae. As you can see here, more than 70,000 of the Roman troops were placed in a huge bulk in the center of the battlefield, while their allied cavalry was placed to the north of the battlefield, right in front of the Numidian cavalry of Carthage. So as you can all see here, the Romans is pretty self-explanatory. There was a huge bulk in the center, and next to that there was a cavalry. But Hannibal's position was a little bit more thought out and a little bit more decisive. You could see that he had placed all of his mercenary troops in the opening while placing his Numidian cavalry to the north of the battlefield to make sure, as they had the most important job of all during the battle, which I'll explain to you in a few minutes. So the first thing that we have to explain is that the Romans had an allied cavalry up to the north and a smaller Roman cavalry down to the south near the smaller Roman camp. So the Spanish and Gaulish cavalry to the south, which belonged to Carthage, had the first skirmish or battle of this entire battle and had to destroy the southern Roman cavalry, and they did something everyone expected them to do, as this was a battle facing off against Hannibal, people. The Roman cavalry circled around the back of this huge Roman bulk and tried to go in for the allied cavalry. But the thing is, the Allied cavalry did something that ultimately helped Hannibal to win this battle a lot by saving him manpower, men energy, and morale. The Allied cavalry ran. They ran for their lives. The thing is, Hannibal's cavalry was so well known around the world that the Allied cavalry thought they were facing the Numidian cavalry from behind instead of what was actually in front of them. So they were so terrified of it, they simply ran away. And people, we are talking about the Romans. These were people who believed in head on violence. So as the Allied cavalry ran away, meanwhile, at the start of the front lines, the Spanish and Gaulish cavalry and infantry troops were beginning to feel the push of the Roman bulk. And yes, this was all part of Hannibal's plan, mind you. For eventually, the front line, which I'm pointing to right here on my screen, broke. They started to run backwards, pushing back. And trust me, the running part, they actually tried to run instead of listening to Hannibal's plan, but they got the job done no matter what. Hannibal was right in the middle of the chaos, cheering his men on, giving them morale boosts, telling them that this would be the fight of their life, and blah blah blah, and so on, so on, so on. We have no idea what he said. Eventually, the Spanish Gaulish cavalry and infantry pushed back into such a way that they made a semicircle along the line you can see me drawing here. So the Roman bulk, they took Hannibal's bait immediately. They immediately tried to close in on the Spanish and Gaulish cavalry, not realizing that they had already half trapped themselves and half signed their death warrants. So eventually, the situation kind of looked like this: a semicircle and a huge thing right there in the middle. Now, the Numidian cavalry, which had not fought a single soldier till now, was still fresh as hell, and then they crashed into the side of the Roman cavalry and infantry. So now the situation was already looking kind of bad for Rome. So you'd think they would still run where they had a chance. No, the Romans kept fighting like complete idiots. So they gave the smaller Spanish and Gaulish Carthaginian cavalry just enough time to encircle them completely from the back. So then there you have a military general's most awaited dream. An entire bulk of people, not people, soldiers, 70,000 soldiers to be exact, surrounded by a measly troop of 54,000 soldiers, which I mind you, if you do the ratio, will be a hell of a ratio. After that, it was simply massacre. For 3 hours, the Carthaginian troops kept fighting. Not even fighting, simply cutting, slashing whatever came in their way. And the Romans in the center were so tightly packed by their own troops that they could not even raise their own hands to defend themselves, which simply ended in them getting cut down without a fight. At the end of it, it was a bloodbath. As the Carthaginians searched for their own survivors among the dead, all they saw was the ground soaked in blood and Roman bodies. But what Hannibal and the modern world saw was one of the greatest military victories of all time. This was one of Hannibal's most infamous tactics, surrounding his enemy, which we have seen in many previous battles of his, which I will not be showing here, which I'll make separate episodes on. But basically, he had done this a lot. And in addition to that, he had finally learned how to use the numbers of a much larger force against them itself, which you can see he has exactly done here. So let's go to the ending stats of this battle. The victory, of course, went to Carthage and the loss went to Rome. The Carthaginians only lost a total of 6,000 men out of the 54,000 they had bought, while the Romans lost 70,000 men of the 80,000 they bought to Cannae. They lost a consul as well, one of the most embarrassing defeats of Roman history. The consul they lost was Paulus, while Varro ran away with the allied cavalry. Many high-ranking senators died at Cannae. This threw Rome into a frenzy of depression, as this was one of the most humiliating Roman defeats that Emperor Augustus would always try to hide during his time of political campaign and propaganda. So with this, everybody, I would like to conclude today's episode. And if you all have exams, then I wish you all the best. Study, don't stress, because the more you stress, the more you will mess up. And if you truly found this video informative, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to study. I wish you all the best for your respective exams. So this is Omega, son of Thanatos, signing off everyone. Have a great day.